So apparently, there's a reason some of us suddenly develop what feels like allergies to everything during perimenopause. And it's not just bad timing. Turns out our mast cells, the ones that control histamine release, are actually influenced by estrogen. Which means when estrogen drops, all hell can break loose in ways we never expected.
Hi there, I'm Tony Lee, and this is Hot Flasher, your daily menopause podcast that serves up fresh news, research, and wellness tips. I've built a daily news pipeline to find the latest on women's health and menopause research. Allow me to introduce my co-host, Nikki, who handles the headlines. Take it away, Nikki.
Thanks, Tony. We've got some fascinating connections to explore today. I'm starting with something that made me pause and think differently about perimenopause symptoms. Dr. Zachary Rubin, who's both an allergist and immunologist, was on Dr. Mary Claire Haver's podcast talking about mast cells, histamine, and how they connect to our changing hormones. And honestly, this explains so much about what some of us experience, but can't quite put our finger on. Mast cells are part of our immune system. They're the ones that release histamine when we have an allergic reaction. But they're not just sitting around waiting for pollen or shellfish. They're actually influenced by our hormones, particularly estrogen. When estrogen levels drop during perimenopause, these mast cells can become hyperactive. What does that look like in real life? Well, you might suddenly find yourself reacting to foods you've eaten your whole life, or developing what seems like environmental sensitivities. Maybe you're feeling anxious in a way that feels different from regular anxiety, more physical, more overwhelming. Some women describe it as feeling like their body is constantly on high alert. Dr. Rubin mentioned that women are disproportionately affected by mast cell activation syndrome, or MCAS, and the timing often coincides with hormonal changes. The symptoms can be all over the place because histamine affects multiple organ systems. We're talking digestive issues, skin problems, brain fog, anxiety, even heart palpitations. This isn't about self-diagnosing MCAS. That requires proper medical evaluation. But understanding this connection helps explain why some of us feel like our bodies are betraying us in completely new ways during perimenopause. It's not just hot flashes and irregular periods. Our immune system is literally responding to the hormonal shift, moving from the cellular level to something more immediately relatable. There's new coverage from Medscape about the link between menopausal symptoms and sexual satisfaction. This feels obvious when you say it out loud, but research is finally quantifying these connections. The relationship goes both ways. Menopausal symptoms can obviously impact sexual satisfaction. We are talking about everything from vaginal dryness to mood changes to fatigue. But what's interesting is that reduced sexual satisfaction can also worsen other menopausal symptoms. It becomes this cycle where each feeds into the other. Part of this is psychological. When you're not feeling good in your body, when intimacy becomes uncomfortable or just feels like another thing on your to-do list, that affects your overall sense of well-being. But there's also a hormonal component. Sexual activity and arousal can actually influence hormone levels and stress response. This matters because sexual health gets sidelined so often in menopause conversations. We talk about bone density and cardiovascular risk, which are crucial, but we don't talk enough about maintaining intimacy and pleasure. And that's not just about relationships with partners, it's about your relationship with your own body during this transition. The research suggests that addressing menopausal symptoms comprehensively can improve sexual satisfaction, and that focusing on sexual health can actually help with other menopausal symptoms. It's all connected in ways that medicine is just starting to acknowledge systematically. Now, speaking of comprehensive approaches, I found some intriguing research on anise. Yes, the spice. for psychological symptoms during menopause. This study from PubMed caught my attention because they use machine learning analysis alongside traditional clinical research methods. Pimpinella anisum, which is the scientific name for anise, has been used traditionally for various women's health issues. But this study specifically looked at psychological symptoms in menopausal women: anxiety, mood changes, cognitive issues. They found statistically significant improvements in the women who took anise supplements compared to the placebo group. What makes this study different is that they used machine learning to analyse the data patterns. This allowed them to identify which women were most likely to respond well to anise treatment based on their specific symptom profiles. It's a more personalised approach than just saying anise helps everyone with anxiety. The researchers think anise works partly through phytoestrogens, plant compounds that can mimic estrogen in the body, though much more weakly than our natural hormones or hormone therapy. But they also found effects on neurotransmitter pathways involved in mood regulation. I'm not suggesting everyone run out and buy anise supplements. This is one study and we need more research. Plus, even natural compounds can interact with medications or cause side effects in some people. But it's encouraging to see researchers taking a more sophisticated approach to understanding which complementary therapies might actually be helpful and for whom. What really interests me about all three of these stories is how they show menopause as this whole body experience. We've got immune system changes affecting everything from anxiety to food sensitivities. We've got the interconnection between physical symptoms and sexual well-being. And we've got research showing that plant compounds can influence brain chemistry in ways that help with mood and cognitive symptoms. It's a reminder that when we're dealing with perimenopause and menopause symptoms, we're not dealing with isolated issues. Everything connects. Your anxiety might be related to histamine. Your mood might improve if you address intimacy issues. Your brain fog might respond to compounds that support neurotransmitter function. The question is whether our healthcare system is ready to think about menopause this way, as an interconnected whole rather than a list of separate symptoms to treat individually.
Thanks for listening to Hot Flasher. We're back tomorrow with more, so don't forget to subscribe. See you tomorrow.